The bitter December wind cut through Megan Reed's thin jacket as she hurried down the crowded Manhattan sidewalk. At 34, she had mastered the art of stretching every dollar to support herself and her 10-year-old daughter, Haley. The administrative position at Hartwell Industries had been her saving grace after her ex-husband disappeared 3 years ago, leaving nothing but unpaid bills and broken promises. "Morning, Miss Reed," called the security guard as she badged into the gleaming skyscraper that housed Hartwell's headquarters. "Morning, Pete. Freezing out there today," she replied, stomping snow from her well-worn boots. The warmth of the building enveloped her as she headed toward the elevator bank. Megan didn't notice the disheveled man sitting against the building's exterior wall, partially hidden behind a pile of cardboard. Few people did. Most hurried past, eyes fixed forward or down at their phones, pretending not to see the city's growing homeless population. But that wasn't Megan's way. The elevator doors opened to the 22nd floor, where she took her place at the reception desk of the Human Resources Department. Megan's supervisor, Victoria Dawson, swept in moments later, immaculate in designer clothes that cost more than Megan made in a month. "The quarterly reports need to be on my desk by noon," Victoria said without looking up from her phone. "And Mr. Hartwell is visiting the department today, so everything needs to be perfect." "Mr. Hartwell? The CEO?" Megan asked, surprised. In her 18 months at the company, she had never seen the reclusive founder and CEO William Hartwell. His rare appearances were usually reserved for board meetings and major events. "Yes, that Mr. Hartwell," Victoria replied, with an eye roll. "He's doing some kind of executive walkthrough of all departments. Make sure the coffee station is stocked with those special beans he likes." The morning passed in a blur of phone calls and spreadsheets. At lunch, Megan grabbed her brown paper bag and headed downstairs. The New York winter had intensified and snow was falling in heavy flakes. As she exited the building, she spotted the same homeless man from earlier, now huddled against the wall, shivering violently. Unlike most of her co-workers who walked briskly to nearby restaurants or food trucks, Megan hesitated. The man looked to be in his 50s, with a grey beard and weathered face partially hidden under a tattered hood. His hands, red and chapped from the cold, clutched a torn cardboard sign that read, "Anything helps." "Sir?" Megan approached cautiously. "Would you like half of my sandwich? It's turkey and cheese." The man looked up, surprise evident in his blue eyes. "That's very kind of you," he said, his voice unexpectedly articulate. "It's nothing, really." She handed him half her sandwich and her thermos of hot soup. "It's homemade chicken noodle. Keep the thermos for now. I'll be back after work." "Why would you help a stranger?" he asked, studying her intently. Megan shrugged. "My dad always said that kindness costs nothing but means everything." She glanced at her watch. "I need to get back. Will you be here later?" He nodded, and Megan hurried back inside, unaware of Victoria watching from the lobby. The afternoon brought an unexpected crisis. One of their top executives had resigned, and Victoria was in a frenzy preparing briefing documents. At 4:30, Megan's desk phone rang. "I need you to stay late," Victoria said curtly. "The executive team needs these reports by morning." Megan's heart sank. "I'm sorry, but I can't. I have to pick up my daughter from after-school care by 6, or they charge extra fees that I can't afford." Victoria's voice turned icy. "This isn't optional, Megan. This is a critical business need. I understand that. But I'm a single mother. I have no one else who can get her. Then perhaps Hartwell Industries isn't the right fit for someone with your constraints." Megan felt a cold wave of fear. She couldn't lose this job. "Let me see if I can find someone to help with Haley, and I'll stay as late as needed." After 20 frantic calls, Megan finally reached her neighbor, Mrs. Wilson, who agreed to pick up Haley. Crisis averted, she threw herself into the work, barely noticing as the office emptied around her. At 7:30, she remembered the homeless man and her promised return. Looking out the window, she could see him still huddled in the same spot, now barely visible in the falling snow. Making a quick decision, Megan grabbed her emergency credit card and ordered a hot meal from the deli across the street. When it arrived 15 minutes later, she took the elevator down, feeling Victoria's disapproving gaze as she left the office. Outside, the temperature had plummeted. The man looked up as she approached, surprise again crossing his features. "You came back," he said. "I promised I would." She handed him the bag of food. "It's a hot dinner. And here, She pulled off her scarf and held it out. "Please take this too. It's not much, but it should help a little." "I can't take your scarf. You'll be cold." "I have others," she lied, already feeling the bite of the wind. "Please." Reluctantly, he accepted both gifts. "Thank you, Miss Megan Reed." "Thank you, Megan Reed. He paused. "I'm Jack." "Nice to meet you, Jack. I wish I could do more, but I need to get back upstairs. My boss is already unhappy with me." As she turned to leave, he called after her, "Why risk your boss's disapproval for a stranger?" Megan smiled sadly. 3 years ago, after my husband left, there were people who helped me when I had nothing. I'm just paying it forward." Back upstairs, Victoria was waiting by her desk, arms crossed. "Did you just give company-ordered food to a homeless person?" "I paid for it myself," Megan replied, returning to her computer. "That man has been loitering outside our building for days. Security has been instructed to move him along, not encourage him by bringing him meals." "He's a human being, Victoria. It's freezing outside. It's inappropriate behavior for a Hartwell employee. You're representing this company even on your lunch break." Megan bit back a retort and focused on her screen. "I'll have these reports finished within the hour." "See that you do." Victoria swept away, heels clicking aggressively on the marble floor. At 9 o'clock, Megan finally finished. As she gathered her things, Victoria returned with the head of security. "Ms. Reed, we've reviewed the security footage from today. You were observed not only fraternizing with that vagrant, but giving him company property." "What? I told you, I paid for the food myself." "The thermos," Victoria said triumphantly. "It has the Hartwell logo. That's company property." Megan stared in disbelief. "It's a $5 thermos that I was going to retrieve tomorrow. Nevertheless, company policy is clear about theft of property." "Theft? Are you serious?" The security manager looked uncomfortable. "Ms. Dawson has filed a formal complaint. I'm afraid we'll need your badge." "You're firing me? Over a thermos?" Megan's voice rose in panic. "I have a daughter to support. Please, this is a misunderstanding. Your final check will be mailed to you," Victoria said coldly. "Clean out your desk now." 30 minutes later, Megan stood on the sidewalk outside Hartwell Industries, a box containing her meager desk belongings in her arms, tears freezing on her cheeks. The homeless man, Jack, was gone. Even the spot where he'd been sitting was clean, as if he'd never existed. "How am I going to tell Haley?" she whispered to the empty street. "How are we going to survive?" Unbeknownst to Megan, from the darkened CEO's office on the top floor, a figure watched her walk away, then picked up a phone. "Frank, it's William Hartwell. I need you to do something for me immediately." The morning after her termination, Megan sat at her small kitchen table, staring blankly at her laptop screen. She had already applied to 17 jobs, but the holiday hiring freeze meant most positions wouldn't be filled until January, 6 weeks and 2 rent payments away. "Mum, are you okay?" Haley appeared in the doorway, already dressed for school in jeans and her favorite purple sweater. At 10 years old, she was perceptive beyond her years, a side effect of growing up too quickly after her father left. Megan forced a smile. "Just a little tired, sweetie. Did you pack your math homework?" "Uh-huh." Haley studied her mother's face. "You don't have to go to work today?" "I've got some time off," Megan said, the lie catching in her throat. She couldn't bear to tell Haley the truth yet, not until she had a plan. "How about I walk you to school today?" After dropping off Haley, Megan stopped at a coffee shop to continue her job search. Her phone rang as she was scrolling through listings. "Is this Megan Reed?" asked an unfamiliar male voice. "Yes, this is she. This is Frank Turner, Mr. William Hartwell's personal assistant. Mr. Hartwell would like to meet with you today at 11 a.m. Megan nearly dropped her phone. "The CEO wants to meet with me? Why?" "Mr. Hartwell didn't share his reasons, ma'am." "A car will pick you up at 10:30. What is your current location?" Still in shock, Megan gave him the address of the coffee shop. Her mind raced. Perhaps Victoria's actions hadn't been authorized. Maybe there was still hope for her job. At precisely 10:30, a sleek black car pulled up outside. The driver, a professional-looking woman, opened the door for her. "Ms. Reed, I'm Diana, Mr. Hartwell's driver." The car glided through Manhattan traffic toward an address in the Upper East Side. Instead of returning to the Hartwell building, they pulled up to an elegant brownstone. "Mr. Hartwell works from his home office on Thursdays. Diana explained, leading her up the steps. "He'll see you in the library." The brownstone's interior was tasteful but not ostentatious, decorated with antique furniture and original artwork. Diana guided her to a wood-paneled room lined with bookshelves and gestured for her to wait. Megan stood nervously, taking in the space. Family photos dotted the shelves. A younger William Hartwell with an older couple who must be his parents, Hartwell on a sailboat, at graduation ceremonies. In each, he looked confident and commanding, every inch the successful CEO. The door opened, and Megan turned, expecting to see the polished executive from the company photos. Instead, she gasped. Standing in the doorway was Jack, the homeless man she'd helped yesterday. Except now he was clean-shaven, his grey hair neatly trimmed, wearing an expensive suit that fit his tall frame perfectly. "Hello, Megan," he said, his voice the same, yet different, without the weariness she'd heard yesterday. "Jack?" she whispered, confusion washing over her. "William Hartwell, actually." He extended his hand. "Please, sit down." Megan sank into a leather armchair, her mind struggling to process what was happening. You were the homeless man. I don't understand." Hartwell sat across from her. "Once a year, I spend a week on the streets near my company buildings. I started the practice after my father died. He built Hartwell Industries from nothing, and he worried I'd lose touch with reality if I only saw the world from the executive suite. So it was some kind of test." "An experience," he corrected. "Not designed to test employees specifically. I learn something different each time." He leaned forward. "In 7 years of doing this, you're the only Hartwell employee who has ever stopped to help me." A flare of anger cut through Megan's confusion. "And for that kindness I lost my job. My daughter and I could lose our apartment. That's why I asked you here. Victoria Dawson had no authority to terminate you, especially for such a ridiculous reason." "The thermos," Megan said bitterly. "Yes, about that." He reached beside his chair and lifted up the Hartwell-branded thermos she had given him. "I believe this is company property that I've stolen. Perhaps I should be fired as well." Despite everything, Megan found herself laughing at the absurdity. "I doubt the board would approve." "Probably not." His expression turned serious. "Ms. Dawson's actions reflect poorly on the company I've built. I wanted to personally apologize and assure you that your termination has been rescinded. You'll be reinstated immediately with back pay." Relief washed through Megan. "Thank you, Mr. Hartwell." "William, please." He hesitated. "Actually, I'd like to offer you more than just your old position." "What do you mean?" "Your personnel file shows you have a bachelor's degree in business administration, yet you're working as an administrative assistant." Megan shifted uncomfortably. "After my divorce, I needed stability more than advancement. Being a single parent means making compromises." "I understand compromise, Megan. My father raised me alone after my mother died. But I've reviewed your work performance. Victoria may not appreciate your talents, but your department head noted you've streamlined several HR processes on your own initiative. I just saw ways things could be improved." "Exactly. That's the kind of thinking I want at Hartwell." He handed her a folder. "This is a job offer for a position as assistant director of our new community outreach division. The salary is double what you were making, with flexible hours to accommodate your daughter's schedule." Megan stared at the document, stunned by the figures on the page. I don't know what to say. Your compassion yesterday wasn't just kindness, Megan. It was leadership. You did what was right, despite potential consequences. That's the quality I value most. I appreciate the offer, truly, but aren't you concerned that it might look like special treatment? People might think that I'm rewarding an employee who showed genuine humanity. I hope they do think that, he smiled. It might encourage others to do the same. Megan's practical nature reasserted itself. What exactly would this position involve? Hartwell Industries has always donated to charities, but it's been haphazard. I want a dedicated department focused on meaningful community engagement. The first project is developing a comprehensive program to address homelessness in the cities where we operate. That's a perfect fit, Megan admitted, thinking of their encounter yesterday. I thought so too. Hartwell glanced at his watch. I have a board meeting shortly. Take the weekend to consider the offer. You can call Frank with your decision on Monday. And Victoria? What happens to her? "That's no longer your concern," he said firmly, "but rest assured I don't tolerate that type of management." As Diana drove her home, Megan's mind whirled with possibilities. The salary would mean security for her and Haley. No more stretching every dollar, no more panic when unexpected expenses arose. They could move to a better apartment, maybe even save for Haley's college fund. But doubt crept in. Was this offer genuine, or would it evaporate once Hartwell's guilt subsided? And did she have the skills to succeed in such a position? When she picked up Haley from school, her daughter immediately sensed a change. "You look happy, Mom. Did something good happen?" "Maybe," Megan said cautiously. "I might have a new job opportunity." That evening, after Haley was asleep, Megan researched William Hartwell more thoroughly. Born to working-class parents in Ohio, his father had built a small tech company that William had transformed into the multinational Hartwell Industries after his father's death. Unlike many CEOs, he avoided the spotlight, rarely giving interviews or appearing at social events. One article mentioned his annual disappearances, which his PR team attributed to personal retreats for strategic planning. Now Megan understood the real reason. The piece also noted his substantial anonymous donations to homeless shelters and education initiatives. As she closed her laptop, Megan's phone pinged with a text message from an unknown number. "The offer is genuine. No strings attached. Trust your instincts." WHH. Somehow he had guessed her concerns. The gesture was both unsettling and reassuring. The weekend passed in a blur of nervous excitement. By Sunday night, Megan had made her decision. This opportunity wasn't just about her. It was about Haley's future and the chance to make a real difference. Monday morning, she called Frank Turner and accepted the position. Within hours, she received an email with new employee paperwork and instructions to report to the executive floor on Wednesday to begin her new role. Tuesday morning brought another surprise. A courier delivered a package containing a new Hartwell Industries ID badge, business cards with her new title, and a handwritten note. "Looking forward to working together. Your thermos has been officially added to your employment benefits package. WH." Enclosed was also a small velvet box. Inside lay a delicate silver pendant in the shape of a thermos with a tiny inscription on the back. "Kindness costs nothing but means everything." The words her father had taught her, now returning in this unexpected form. Megan fastened the necklace around her neck, touching it gently as tears welled in her eyes. For the first time in years, she felt something beyond the constant struggle to survive. She felt hope. Megan's first day as Assistant Director of Community Outreach began with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The executive floor of Hartwell Industries was a stark contrast to her former workspace, all glass, steel, and breathtaking views of Manhattan. Frank Turner greeted her at the elevator. "Ms. Reed, welcome to the 28th floor." His previously formal tone had softened. "Mr. Hartwell asked me to show you to your office and introduce you to the team." "My office?" Megan echoed, still adjusting to the idea. Frank led her down a hallway lined with contemporary art to a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows. A sleek desk faced the door, while a comfortable sitting area occupied the opposite corner. "This is mine?" she asked, taking in the space that was easily 5 times larger than the cubicle she'd occupied in HR. "Mr. Hartwell personally selected it," Frank confirmed. "He thought you'd appreciate the natural light." On the desk sat a brand-new laptop, a company phone, and a small plant with a note. "Growth begins with a single seed. DUH." Before she could process this, Frank ushered her to a conference room where 3 people waited. "Your core team," he explained, "all transfers from other departments who expressed interest in community work." The introductions went quickly. Ryan Cooper from marketing was a 30-something with an easy smile and innovative ideas. Patricia Winters from finance brought 15 years of budget experience and a passion for educational initiatives. The youngest, Tyler Nguyen from IT, had developed an app tracking shelter availability for the homeless in his spare time. "Mr. Hartwell said you'd be setting the department's direction," Ryan explained. "We're eager to hear your vision." Megan took a deep breath. "I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I want to be transparent. Until last week, I was an administrative assistant in HR. I'm still catching up on what this role entails." To her surprise, Patricia smiled warmly. We know your background, Megan. Mr. Hartwell shared your story with us. He did? Tyler nodded. He said you embodied the values this department should represent. That's why we all requested transfers to your team. Unexpected tears pricked at Megan's eyes. She blinked them away, touched by their faith in her. Then let's figure this out together. What do we know about Hartwell's current charitable activities? The morning flew by as they compiled existing programs and brainstormed new initiatives. By lunch, Megan's initial insecurity had faded, replaced by growing excitement about the possibilities ahead. As the team dispersed for lunch, Frank appeared at the door. Mr. Hartwell would like to see you in his office. Hartwell's corner office dwarfed even Megan's generous space. One wall displayed family photos and achievement awards. Another held a massive digital display showing real-time data from Hartwell operations worldwide. "Megan, come in," Hartwell greeted her, gesturing to a chair across from his desk. "How's your first morning going?" "Overwhelming but exciting," she admitted. "You've assembled an incredible team. They're good people who needed the right leadership." He studied her with those piercing blue eyes. "You're wearing the pendant." Megan's hand instinctively went to the silver thermos around her neck. It was a thoughtful gift. "Thank you. It's a reminder for both of us." He leaned back in his chair. "I have a meeting with the board tomorrow. They'll want to know about our first major community initiative." "Already? We've barely started brainstorming." "Welcome to the executive level," he said with a wry smile. "Everything moves faster up here. What ideas resonate with you so far?" Megan considered carefully. Tyler mentioned that homeless shelters often operate in isolation. They have beds available while others are turning people away. His app could be expanded citywide, maybe even nationally. "That's a start," Hartwell nodded. "What else?" "The biggest issue I see is transition housing. People get temporary shelter but struggle to move into permanent housing. What if Hartwell converted one of its older properties into affordable apartments with built-in job training facilities?" "Interesting." "Continue." Warming to the subject, Megan outlined her emerging vision, a comprehensive approach addressing not just immediate shelter needs, but the underlying issues of job skills, mental health support, and reintegration into the workforce. "We could partner with local businesses to provide apprenticeships, creating a clear pathway from homelessness to self-sufficiency." When she finished, Hartwell was silent, his expression unreadable. Megan feared she'd overstepped. "It's just preliminary thinking," she added hastily. "We'd need to research costs and feasibility." "It's exactly what I hoped for," Hartwell interrupted. "Practical, compassionate, and systemic. Get me a basic proposal by tomorrow morning, and I'll present it to the board." "Tomorrow morning?" Megan's heart raced. "That's barely 18 hours. You'll handle it." His confidence in her was both flattering and terrifying. "This is your opportunity to make a real impact, Megan." Back in her office, Megan rallied her team. They ordered dinner and worked late into the evening, building the proposal from scratch. Around 8 o'clock, Megan called Mrs. Wilson to check on Haley. "We're fine, dear," the elderly woman assured her. "Haley's doing homework. She's so proud of your new job." At midnight, as they finalized the presentation, Frank appeared with fresh coffee. "Mr. Hartwell thought you might need this." "Is he still here?" Megan asked, surprised. "He rarely leaves before midnight," Frank replied. "The executive suite is his second home since his divorce." This casual revelation caught Megan off guard. In all her research, she hadn't found any mention of Hartwell's personal life. "I didn't realize he was divorced. 3 years ago, it was kept quiet. Mrs. Hartwell received a generous settlement in exchange for discretion." Frank hesitated. "He's been different since meeting you, Ms. Reed. More engaged." Whatever you said to him that day made quite an impression. After Frank left, Megan sent her team home and reviewed the proposal one final time. It was good, solid, innovative, and true to her vision. She emailed it to Hartwell at 1 a.m. and headed home, exhausted but satisfied. She was awakened at 6 a.m. by her phone ringing. William Hartwell's name flashed on the screen. "The proposal is excellent," he said without preamble. "Meet me in my office at 7:30. The board meeting is at 8. 2 hours later, Megan stood beside Hartwell in the boardroom as he presented their initiative to 12 skeptical executives. She supplied details when asked, her initial nervousness giving way to passionate advocacy as they questioned the financial viability of her vision. "This isn't charity," she explained, surprising herself with her confidence. "It's strategic community investment. Every person we help transition from homelessness to employment becomes a productive community member and potentially a Hartwell customer or employee." When the questioning ended, Hartwell asked Megan to wait outside while the board deliberated. She paced the hallway, replaying every word, second-guessing her responses. 20 minutes later, Hartwell emerged, his expression neutral. "Walk with me," he said, heading toward his office. "Did they approve it?" Megan asked anxiously. "Not exactly." He closed his office door behind them. "They had concerns about the scale and the timeline." Megan's heart sank. "I knew we should have been more conservative with the numbers." "Actually," Hartwell continued, "they thought we weren't being ambitious enough. They've approved double the initial budget and want to implement the program in 3 cities simultaneously." "What? Really?" Megan gasped. "You impressed them, Megan. Particularly Jonathan Blake, our most conservative board member. He said you reminded him of his daughter, passionate but practical." Relief and excitement flooded through her. "That's incredible news. There's more. The board wants progress updates every quarter, presented by you." The implication wasn't lost on Megan. She would be regularly presenting to the most powerful people at Hartwell Industries. It was an extraordinary opportunity and responsibility. "Thank you for your faith in me," she said sincerely. "I won't let you down." "I know you won't." His gaze held hers for a moment longer than necessary, and Megan felt an unexpected flutter in her chest. "Now, there's one more thing." He handed her an envelope. Inside was an invitation to Hartwell's annual holiday gala, an exclusive event for executives and major clients. "The gala is next Friday. As our new assistant director, your presence is expected." He paused. "It's formal attire." Panic flashed through Megan. She didn't own anything remotely suitable for such an event, and her new salary hadn't even started yet. Hartwell seemed to read her thoughts. "There's a stipend for appropriate attire. Frank can help with the details." "Thank you," Megan said, hoping her relief wasn't too obvious. The next week passed in a blur of meetings, planning sessions, and late nights. Megan's new role demanded everything she had, but for the first time in years, her work felt meaningful. She was building something that would make a tangible difference in people's lives. Haley adapted quickly to their new circumstances. Megan now had the flexibility to attend her school events, and they'd started looking at larger apartments in better neighborhoods. The night of the gala arrived with a mix of anticipation and anxiety. Megan had used the stipend to purchase a simple but elegant emerald green gown that complemented her auburn hair. The silver thermos pendant rested at her throat, a reminder of the journey that had brought her here. As she checked her appearance one last time, Haley watched from the doorway. "You look like a princess, Mom," she said with wide-eyed approval. Megan laughed. "Hardly. Just an ordinary person in a fancy dress. Dad would be sorry he left," Haley said suddenly. Megan knelt to hug her daughter. "Then he did us both a favor, sweetie. We're doing just fine on our own." The company car arrived at 7, and Mrs. Wilson arrived to stay with Haley. As Megan headed toward the waiting vehicle, her phone buzzed with a text message from William Hartwell. "Looking forward to introducing you to everyone tonight. You've earned this moment." The car pulled away from the curb, carrying Megan toward an evening that promised to change her life yet again. What she couldn't know was that the night would bring revelations that would shake the foundation of everything she'd come to believe about William Hartwell and about her own future. The Hartwell Industries Holiday Gala transformed the grand ballroom of the Plaza Hotel into a winter wonderland. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over tables adorned with white orchids and silver accents, while a string quartet played softly in the corner. Megan entered hesitantly, immediately aware that she was in a different world. Executives she recognized from company newsletters mingled with celebrities and political figures. She clutched her small evening bag, fighting the urge to retreat. "Ms. Reed." Frank Turner appeared at her side, dapper in a tuxedo. "Allow me to show you to your table." To her surprise, she was seated at the head table with William Hartwell and the board members. Her place card sat directly beside Hartwell's, a position that drew curious glances from other attendees. "Everyone's staring," she whispered to Frank. "Mr. Hartwell rarely brings guests to these events," he explained discreetly. "Your presence has sparked speculation." Before Megan could process this information, William Hartwell himself appeared. In his impeccable tuxedo, he commanded attention without effort. Several people attempted to intercept him, but he moved purposefully toward Megan. "You look stunning," he said, his gaze appreciative but respectful. "That color suits you." "Thank you," she replied, touching the silver thermos pendant self-consciously. "Everything is beautiful. It's just window dressing," he said dismissively. "The real purpose of tonight is connecting with people who can further our mission. Come, there are some people you should meet." Throughout dinner, Hartwell introduced Megan to influential figures who could support their community initiatives. She spoke passionately about their plans, her initial nervousness forgotten as she advocated for the cause that had come to mean so much to her. "You're a natural," Hartwell murmured as they returned to their table after speaking with the mayor. "Everyone is impressed." "I just believe in what we're doing," she replied honestly. As dessert was being served, Hartwell was called away to greet a late-arriving dignitary. The woman seated on Megan's other side leaned over. "So you're William's new protégé," she said with a calculating smile. "I'm Caroline Blake. My husband Jonathan is on the board." "It's lovely to meet you," Megan responded politely. "William has quite the history of mentoring promising young women," Caroline continued, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "His ex-wife was his assistant once upon a time, as was the girlfriend before that." Megan's smile froze. "I'm sorry?" "Oh, don't look so shocked, dear. It's a pattern. William finds talented women in lower positions, elevates them professionally, and then—" She trailed off meaningfully. "The board calls it the Hartwell promotion. It never ends well for the women involved." Discomfort crawled up Megan's spine. "I think you've misunderstood our relationship. Mr. Hartwell and I work together, nothing more." Caroline patted her hand condescendingly. "That's how it always begins. Just be careful. When it ends, and it always ends, the women tend to leave the company soon after. Such a waste of talent." The woman's words cast a shadow over the remainder of the evening. Megan observed Hartwell more carefully as he moved through the crowd. He was charming and attentive with everyone, not just her. Was that evidence against Caroline's insinuations or confirmation of his practiced technique? When the dancing began, Hartwell returned to their table. "Would you care to dance?" he asked, extending his hand. Her hesitation must have shown on her face. "Is something wrong?" "Not at all," she lied, accepting his hand. On the dance floor, Hartwell was a confident lead, guiding her effortlessly among the other couples. "You've been quiet since I returned to the table," he observed. "Did Caroline say something to upset you?" Megan considered deflecting but chose honesty instead. "She mentioned your history of mentoring female employees." Hartwell's expression tightened almost imperceptibly. "Ah, the Blake family specializes in elegant character assassination." "Is it true?" Megan asked directly. He guided her toward a quieter corner of the dance floor. "Some of it. My ex-wife was indeed my executive assistant before we dated and married. That relationship ended for reasons unrelated to work, and the others. There was one other serious relationship with a colleague years ago. It didn't work out." His eyes held hers steadily. "2 relationships over 15 years hardly constitutes the pattern," Caroline implied. Relief and embarrassment washed through Megan. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have listened to gossip." "Don't apologize. It's a reasonable question." His hand tightened slightly at her waist. "For complete clarity, Megan, I promoted you because of your compassion and capability. Nothing more, nothing less." The music ended, and Hartwell was immediately approached by an elderly man eager to discuss business. Hartwell excused himself reluctantly, leaving Megan to make her way back to their table alone. As she sipped her champagne, watching the glittering crowd, a familiar figure approached, Victoria Dawson, her former supervisor. Victoria looked shocked to see Megan at the head table. "Enjoying your meteoric rise?" Victoria asked, her smile brittle. "It's been an adjustment," Megan answered neutrally. "I'm sure it has." Victoria lowered her voice. "Just between us, how did you really catch Hartwell's attention? It must have been something special to go from firing to executive suite in 1 week." Anger flared in Megan's chest. "I treated a homeless man with basic human dignity. Something you might try sometime, Victoria." Victoria's eyes widened at the rebuke. "So it's true then? Hartwell was actually out there playing homeless? Everyone thought it was just a bizarre rumor." "I have nothing more to say to you," Megan replied, turning away. You won't last, Victoria hissed. None of his projects ever do. The encounter left Megan unsettled. She excused herself to the ladies' room, needing a moment away from the curious eyes and whispered speculations. In the elegant powder room, she stared at her reflection. The woman looking back at her seemed like a stranger, polished, confident, belonging in this world of wealth and power. But the doubts crept in. Had her promotion really been about her abilities, or was she simply William Hartwell's latest project? The thought stung more than she expected. As she returned to the ballroom, she saw Hartwell waiting for her, concern evident in his expression. You disappeared, he said. Is everything all right? I just needed some air, she replied. It's been an overwhelming night. He studied her face. Victoria upset you. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. His voice was gentle but firm. What did she say? Megan sighed. She implied I'm your latest project, that I won't last. Something flashed in his eyes, anger perhaps, or frustration. Would you walk with me? There's something I'd like to show you. Curious, despite her reservations, Megan followed him out of the ballroom and up to a small terrace overlooking the city. The December air was bitingly cold, but the view of Manhattan's lights was breathtaking. Hartwell removed his jacket and placed it around her shoulders. Better. Thank you, she said, pulling it closer, surrounded by his scent, cedar, and something uniquely him. My father brought me here when I was 12, Hartwell said, gazing out at the skyline. It was my first formal event after my mother died. I hated every minute, the uncomfortable clothes, the adults patting my head, the suffocating expectations. He turned to her. I escaped to this terrace. My father found me here an hour later. Instead of being angry, he sat with me and told me something I've never forgotten. Success means nothing if you lose yourself in the process. Wise words, Megan said softly. Words I haven't always lived by, Hartwell admitted. The truth is, Megan, I've lost myself more than once over the years. I've let this company become my entire identity. My marriage failed because I couldn't separate William from Hartwell Industries. He leaned against the railing. These annual weeks I spend on the street, they're my attempt to reconnect with reality, to remember that man and business are not the same thing. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve the truth. He faced her fully now. You're not a project, Megan. Meeting you, the real you, not the employee, changed something in me. Your kindness without expectation of return. It reminded me of who I used to be, before spreadsheets and stock prices consumed my life. Megan's heart raced at the raw honesty in his voice. What happens now? She asked quietly. That depends on what you want. He took a step closer. Professionally, nothing changes. Your position, your team, your vision for the outreach program, they're yours regardless of anything else between us. And personally? The words slipped out before she could stop them. Personally, he said, his voice dropping, I'd like the chance to know you better, outside the office. No expectations, no pressure. Just two people sharing a meal, a conversation, a connection. The moment stretched between them, filled with possibility. Megan thought of Caroline's warnings, Victoria's insinuations, the complications that could arise. But she also thought of the man who had sat in the snow, who had recognized her worth when others hadn't, who was looking at her now with such genuine hope in his eyes. I'd like that, she said finally. His smile was like sunrise breaking through clouds. Good. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, the city lights twinkling below them. Then Megan laughed softly. What's amusing? He asked. Just thinking about how much has changed in 2 weeks. From getting fired for helping a homeless man, to standing on a terrace at the plaza with the CEO of Hartwell Industries. Life takes unexpected turns, he agreed. Speaking of which, there's something else I've been meaning to discuss with you. From his pocket, he withdrew a small envelope and handed it to her. Inside was a deed to a condominium in a family-friendly neighborhood near Haley's school. What is this? Megan asked, confused. Part of our new employee housing initiative, Hartwell explained. Key personnel receive housing assistance as part of their benefits package. The monthly payments are substantially reduced and go toward eventual ownership. Megan stared at the document in disbelief. I can't accept this. It's not a gift, Megan. It's a company benefit that you've earned. Your personnel file indicates your current lease expires next month. This would provide stability for you and Haley. Tears pricked at her eyes. "You've thought of everything." "Not everything," he said softly. "But I'm learning to think beyond business again. That's your influence." Inside, the orchestra began playing a familiar holiday melody. Hartwell extended his hand to her. "Shall we return? Or would you prefer to escape the stuffiness a bit longer?" Megan smiled, taking his hand. "Let's stay out here a few more minutes. The view is better." "Indeed it is," he replied, his gaze never leaving her face. 6 months later, Megan stood in the newly renovated Hartwell Transition Center, watching as the first residents moved into their temporary apartments. The facility, once an underutilized Hartwell property, now offered housing, job training, counseling services, and childcare for families transitioning from homelessness. "It's even better than I imagined," said a voice behind her. William Hartwell approached, casually dressed in jeans and a button-down shirt rather than his usual suit. "We did it," Megan agreed, pride evident in her voice. "All the work, all the late nights. It was worth it to see these families having a real chance." "You did it," he corrected, slipping his arm around her waist. "This was your vision from the beginning." Their relationship had evolved cautiously over the months, both aware of the potential complications. They kept their professional interactions strictly businesslike, while their personal connection deepened through quiet dinners, weekend outings with Haley, and countless conversations that stretched into the night. Haley adored him, especially after he helped her build a science project that won first place in her school fair. And Megan had found in William something she'd never expected, a partner who respected her independence while offering unwavering support. "I have something for you," William said, reaching into his pocket. "Another company benefit?" she teased. "No, this is entirely personal." He handed her a small velvet box. Inside was not a ring, as she had momentarily feared, but a charm to add to the silver thermos necklace she still wore daily, a tiny key. "What's this for?" she asked, touching it gently. "It represents doors opening," he explained. "The doors you've opened for these families, the doors you've opened in my life. And maybe someday, the door to our home, if that's a path you choose to take." Megan looked up at this remarkable man who had entered her life in the most unexpected way. "Are you asking what I think you're asking?" "Not exactly," he said with a smile. "I'm just letting you know that the possibility exists whenever you're ready. No pressure, no timeline." She reached up and kissed him softly. "Thank you for understanding what I need." "Always," he promised. As they toured the facility, greeting new residents and staff, Megan reflected on the journey that had brought her here. A simple act of kindness on a snowy day had changed not only her life, but the lives of countless others through the program she now led. That evening, as they shared dinner with Haley in the condominium that now truly felt like home, William entertained them with stories of his latest undercover boss experience, this time at a Hartwell manufacturing plant in Detroit. "You're still doing that?" Megan asked, surprised. "More than ever," he confirmed, "but now I have you to remind me of the important things I might miss." Later, after Haley had gone to bed, they sat on the balcony overlooking the city. Megan fingered the key charm that now hung beside the silver thermos. "I've been thinking," she said hesitantly. "Always a dangerous proposition," he teased. She smiled. "I'm ready to consider that path we talked about earlier. Not immediately, but soon." His expression softened. "Really?" "Haley needs stability, and I needed time to be sure this wasn't just gratitude or admiration on my part." She took his hand. "But what I feel for you is real, William. It's not about Hartwell Industries or what you can provide. It's about who you are. The man who sits with the homeless and remembers his father's wisdom and looks at my daughter like she's precious." "She is precious," he said simply. "So is her mother." As the city lights twinkled around them, Megan leaned her head against his shoulder. From administrative assistant